It's cold. Okay, hey everyone. Oh great, Cornica's on the ottoman. Corny. Okay, hi. So today I just wanted to, I've been watching a lot of different things. I've been thinking a lot about different topics that I want to talk about and about my opinions, my thoughts. And I've been watching a lot of different videos and I've been thinking a lot about mental health and how it relates kind of like to possession. And today I wanted to talk about a story with my ex-boyfriend who was an extreme narcissist and extremely abusive. I was with him for about 3.5 years, and we lived very, very poorly, so that was another like huge strain on our relationship, and that's another topic I want to talk about. I want to talk about how like the struggles in poverty and how it's so like satanic and how it so like takes everything that we need to live and it makes it unattainable and evil and hard to get, and it causes you stress and pain rather than relief. So I want to do a video on that too. But anyway, today I want to talk about, I think I want to talk about a specific story with my ex-boyfriend. We had a couple different issues, like, no, I'm not going to say a couple. We had many situations where the police had to be called. And I do want to say, too, that, like, although the last time I had to call the police on him, they were very receptive. They were state troopers. The police in the town that I was in would always take his side. And not even in a way that was, like, appropriate. Just in a way that was like, oh, well, if he's all fucked up and can't be driving and, like, is trespassing on your property, you should just let him back in your house, kind of thing. But that's another story. So today, so there were many times that that the police were not receptive. But today I want to talk about a time that it was, like, undeniable and that they had no choice but to be receptive. And also the experience within that experience that was very disturbing for me and felt very, like, demonic. So, okay, let's get into it. So, he and I used to fight pretty much every day. It was like, I wake up and just know we're about to get into it. Just a shitty day every day. Imagine, same day every day, fucking shitty day, getting in fights over nothing. Hating each other by, like, the first hour you're awake. Because of bullshit. That's what it is with a narcissist. It's never valid. You're never valid. But anyway, so the day, it was still bright out. It was still early in the day. I want to say, I don't know exactly what time, but I decided I'd had enough of his shit. And today I was being, for whatever reason, I was being super strong, and I was being, like, super in my power, and I was, like, also really calm, and I was like, nah, like, sorry, but you have to leave. I'll even drive you home, gather up your things, because he was always staying with me. He was always there. Always there. I never had time alone. Never alone. And then when I was alone, it was like I needed to be texting him. But anyway, so I was like, I just need some space, like, get your stuff, I don't need all your stuff here, like, you're not coming back tonight, like, I'm setting a boundary. I'd been working with my therapist to learn how to set boundaries and shit, and I was, like, doing a good job, and so I lived on the 3rd floor of a multi-family home, and I said, I'm going to be down in the car, I'm just going to turn it on, and I'm going to wait down there, because, like, we're not talking about this is not something that's, like, I was very calm, and I knew what I wanted, and this freaked him the fuck out. So he's freaking out, he's crying, he's screaming, he's throwing shit, and he's like, flipped the fuck out because know what I want, and I know I don't want him there. So he's freaking out. He's taking all his stuff. He's like, you can't do this! And I'm like, I'll be in the car, like, just not even, not caring, but, like, you know, standing my ground. And so I start to walk about just a couple steps down the stairs, and my cat must have kind of, like, snuck out the door behind me, and I heard him say something to her, like, Kornica, get the fuck back inside. And then I heard a big, like, thump, and I heard her, like, let her air out, like she had, like, gotten the wind knocked out of her. So I felt like I was positive, and so I turned around, and I ran up the stairs, and I saw, like, just the end of that, and she was, like, hitting the ground. And so I knew that he threw my cat. And, you know, at first he wouldn't admit it. At first he'd be like, no, I didn't throw your cat, because that's what narcissists do. They try to make you feel crazy. But, like, I knew it, because I saw the end of it. I saw her landing, and I saw her landing really hard, and, like, and walking away. And then eventually, after a while, he was like, yeah, I threw your cat. Yeah. Well, it was because this, and this, and because you did this. So, anyway, so he threw my cat. I see her. She crawls under the couch, and I know she's safe under the couch. So I lose it at this point. I burst into tears. I'm bawling my eyes out. And so I had the hidden phone, because this relationship was really abusive, and I just had a bad feeling, and he really crossed the line when he fucking threw my cat. So I had this phone hidden in my bedroom, because for whatever reason I didn't have my phone. My phone was, I don't know where it was. If he had it, I don't remember. This was a couple years ago. But I was smart enough I had, like, this little emergency track phone, because I had a really bad feeling, and people would always say, like, Nikki, he's gonna kill you. We're going to read about you dying, and, like, we're afraid we're going to read in the paper that he killed you. Like, people would always say that shit. So anyway, I had this emergency phone, and I go and I get it, and I dial 911, and just so you know, if you don't even have any minutes on a phone, or you have no service, like, it doesn't matter. 911 will go through. Don't let that deter you from dialing 911. You can dial 911 no matter what. So anyway, I dial 911, and apparently this track phone is like an old kind of, like, flip phony kind of track phone. When you dial 911, it makes, like, this emergency beeping noise. And so when I saw he threw Kornica, I freaked out, and I was like, yo, you, like, freaking out, like, you just threw blah, 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 crying, screaming, but I didn't explain myself. I didn't explain where I was going. That's very, like, I'm having so much anxiety just thinking about this. So that's, like, he scared me, and it scared me that he threw my cat, and I was about to call 911, and he hated cops. His whole family hated cops. So, like, and I shouldn't even say it like that. They hated police. So, but they'd be like, cops don't come here. You don't call cops. We're, like, stuff like that. It's so ridiculous. So, anyway, so I didn't tell him where I was going. But so when I hit 911, this phone makes this loud ass beep, because it goes onto emergency mode, and I hear him say, what? Are you calling somebody in there? He's in the kitchen on the other side of my apartment. It's not huge, but it's on the other side of the house. And I'm in there, and the phone is ringing, okay? And I hit send, and the phone's ringing, and actually it was in this hand. The phone is ringing and ringing, and nobody's picking up. Nobody's answering, and it's ringing and ringing, and I just hear, like, just a few footsteps, because he's pissed. And he's, like, not himself at this point. So he's like, step, 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 and he just comes around the corner in the room. And I'm like, the phone is ringing. It rang probably like 3 times, and it felt like the longest ringing ever in my whole life. And then he literally grabs me by the neck with one hand, and takes the phone with the other hand, and I'm getting so triggered right now. I don't know why I thought this was a good idea. So he grabs me by the neck with one hand, and he grabs the phone with the other hand, and I just start screaming. Because I'm thinking that, like, if I can at least scream so that if someone's picking up, they'll hear. I feel like I was taught that as a kid. Like, if you're on the phone and you're, like, waiting for someone to pick up, if you scream when you're in crisis, like, you're always supposed to scream. So, like, if they hear someone screaming, like, they're going to call back. They're going to send somebody out. Like, they're going to know something's fucking wrong, okay? So, yeah, so I'm screaming and screaming, and he's just, like, jolting me around, and he's trying to rip this out of my hand, and he's swearing at me, and then he's, like, grabbing me, too, like, once he gets the phone out of my hand, he, like, grabs me under the ribs, and he's still, like, just, like, jerking me around, and I'm just screaming at the top of my lungs, like, not giving up, like, because, like, fuck that, and so I'm screaming, and he's like, shut the fuck up, and I'm like, just not. And then he literally picks me up and throws me on my bed. So I stopped screaming at that point because he let go of me, and I was like, I can't believe you just, like, when someone hurts me, because I have been physically hurt by people in my life, and more than one occasion by different people. When someone hurts me, I literally can't believe they're hurting me. Because I don't hurt people physically, really. So I try not to. I mean, I'm sure I have accidentally, but, like, I really try hard not to, unless I'm defending myself, obviously. But, like, when somebody's hurting me, I'm like, I can't believe you just did this. I'm, like, basically giving a play-by-play of what happened, because my brain is, like, digesting it, because it's like, how did somebody just do that to me? I didn't deserve that. That was mean. Like, what the fuck? My soul is like, what the actual fuck? How'd that just happen? So I'm on the bed, like, what? And I'm like, you can't take my phone. Give me my phone. He's like, no, we're gonna be fine. And he runs into the kitchen, and as he's running out the door, he throws his hands up in the air, like this. And he's in the kitchen because, I was just screaming at the top of my lungs. And he's in the kitchen yelling down, I'm assuming to the neighbors below me, the second floor neighbors. And it's very much like, after I talked to my neighbors about this, after it happened, I was like, why didn't none of you come when I was screaming? They were like, this is very much a town where, like, you don't get involved in other people's business. But then they were also like, we don't like to call the police around here. And I was like, so what do I do then? So what the hell am I supposed to do? What? So anyway, so he runs into the kitchen and he starts yelling, I'm all the way in the kitchen. I don't have my hands on you. I didn't do any of the things you're saying. You're just crazy. You're just bipolar. Look at me. My hands are free up in the air. And I swear to God, I swear on everything, when he was grabbing me in the neck, and when he was running backwards with his hands up like a fool, his eyes were fucking, blacked out and dead and fucking empty. And in that moment, I was like, my boyfriend, soon-to-be ex-boyfriend, has multiple personality disorder, and there's something taking, I was like, this is not him right now. This is not insert name here right now. This is something else. Because he was so dead looking. And so, I'm on the bed, and I'm pretty much being held hostage against my will. And I'm on the bed, and I'm thinking, how the fuck am I going to get out of here? And I hear, because, you're hypervigilant, so you're more aware. I hear the sound of a basketball bouncing. I just immediately knew what it was. What the fuck? I just knew that, rubbery sound of, the basketball bouncing. And my first floor neighbors, they had a teenage boy living down there in high school. So, tall, not, huge, but, could stand up against another dude. And, his cousin, I think, it was, his cousin, he was living there, too. So, it's, two teenage dudes down there. And they were young. They were probably like 16 or 17, but still, it's more than what I had for me, keeping myself safe. So I hear the basketball, and I scramble to the edge of my bed because that's where the window was, and I look out the window, and I see the two of them are playing basketball. And I don't know why I did this. It's giving me anxiety thinking about it, but I, like, scramble to the door, and I'm like, I literally gave this human being, like, 1,000,000 chances constantly. Like, I always just wanted him to do the right thing. I always just wanted him to give in. I always just wanted him to act right. I just wanted him to act right. And so I run out to the doorway, and I'm like, if you don't let me out of this house right now, or you don't get my phone back, or you don't get out, any of those things, I'm literally going to scream out the window for help. Whew, I can't breathe. And then he just looks at me with those black eyes again, and he gets all, like, stiff. And he's like, oh, hell no, you're not yelling out the window. And it's like, douche, like, all these slow steps. Like, think about horror movies when, like, Mike Myers doesn't run. Like, he doesn't have to run. So I fucking scramble across my bed. I rip my window open, and I scream. And I remember learning years ago in a social psychology class in college, I remember learning that you are supposed to directly look at people. Like, you're supposed to look people in the eye. And this is very good crisis information. You're supposed to directly look people in the eye, and you're supposed to say, like, you help me, and, like, personalize yourself and personalize them, because they're going to, there's this phenomenon of everybody else, it has a name, I don't remember what it's called, but everybody else is going to think someone else is going to do it. So, like, if you open up the window and you're like, help, somebody help me, someone, anybody help me, like, nobody's going to help you, because everyone's going to be like, oh shit, I didn't want to get involved in that, like, hopefully somebody else helps her. Like, no, I ripped that fucking window open, and I said, hey! I don't think I said hey, I don't exactly remember, but I think I immediately just started screaming, help me, and I remember, I do remember this, the kid, the son of the neighbors, who I was actually very good friends with, and they would be so disappointed every time I brought this guy back around, or every time this guy would show back up on my porch, like, because this was a ongoing battle between us, like, it was hard. So anyway, the son, he spins around, and I make eye contact with him, and I'm like, help me, and literally, that basketball was still fucking bouncing, and those two boys, thank God for them, they literally sped, like, so fast. They, like I said, that basketball was like, it was like a cartoon. Like, that basketball was still bouncing. They fucking sped. They went flying up the stairs. I live up 3 flights of this windy, tiny ass, like, staircase. I hear them, like, and this kid, my ex-boyfriend, is like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Like, he's freaking out because he's about to be caught. So he's grabbing everything he can. And mind you, he steals, in the process, he steals my weed in all of his stuff. And it was quite a bit of it. So he's taking all this shit, and he's freaking out at me, telling me he hates me, telling me I'm crazy, telling me this and that. And he leaves. And he shuts the door behind him, and he stops the dudes in the hallway, and they're like, yo, we need to get up there. Like, she's screaming for help. And he's like, no, she's just bipolar, she's just crazy, she's just this, she's just that. It's nothing. And he gets by them with his backpack, and he skateboards away because he's so cool, right? Like, he's got no car, not shit to show for himself, so he fucking makes his getaway on his skateboard. Oh, God, what was I thinking? So anyway, I don't even bother to say shit to the kids outside. Like, if you ever see this, thank you so much for saving my ass. Thank you so much. That shit I don't even know how long I would have been held up there, because no one else was coming to save me, and I didn't have a phone. So anyway, I lock the door, obviously. I lock all the doors. I make sure Cornica is still under the couch, which she is. So after that, I check for my car keys. They're still there. After that, I check for my cash, and I check for my cards. They're still there. Now it's time to find the phone, and luckily he did not take it. So I find the phone, and I call 911, and all I have to say, I don't even have to get into all the shit that just happened. All I have to say is, my ex-boyfriend just was so, I don't even remember exactly what I said, but I was like, he just went crazy. He just threw my cat. That's all I had to say was, he threw my cat. And this 911 person, I gotta say, I spent a lot of time on the phone with 911 people for a couple of years of my life. They're wonderful, helpful people. And I appreciate you. If you're a 911 answerer watching this, like, thank you so much. You're wonderful and helpful. And sometimes they'd even be like, why are the police acting like that? Why did the police let him back inside? Why did the police do that? Like, they were, like, very helpful. But anyway, all I had to say was, this guy threw my cat, and he was like, what? Like, he just cut me off there and was like, I'm sending people over. And then he's like, all right, tell me about what else happened. And I'm telling him more and more. He's like, oh my God, I'm sending more people. He was like, where is he? I said, I don't know. He left and I locked the door. And he said, do you feel safe enough to go outside with the neighbors? Because the neighbors went back to playing basketball. Like, imagine what they were thinking. Like, they went to literally save my ass. And they did. Thank God for them. Because if they didn't come up, he never would have left. So, like, then they just went back to playing basketball. And so I was, like, on the phone with the 911 operator, just bawling my fucking eyes out. I shut my door, make sure my cat's okay. I go outside and I sit on the stoop and just, like, stoop, kids afraid to leave a stoop. I just sit on that stoop and these teenagers are playing basketball and I'm like, thank you so much. And they're just, like, looking at me, like, believing what my ex-boyfriend said, like, just believing I'm crazy and probably thinking that, like, it was not shit that happened. Like, they're just looking at me like, yep, no problem, like, you know, like, bro code, like, choosing his side, whatever, who knows. So finally, all these cop cars show up and I, like, spring to my feet and I'm bawling my fucking eyes out and I give them, like, the play-by-play with all the emotion and, like, everything I was feeling. So I was so disturbed that someone could do this to me and, like, if you know me, like, you know I am a rule follower. So, like, the fact that somebody would take a phone from my hand, first of all, think that they could put their hands on my body like that and then take a phone from my hand and stop a 911 phone call, like, no. Like, what? So, it was just, and that's actually very, very legal. That was one of the things that they were like, what? Like, that was very incriminating of him to do that. Like, I think the fact that he did that, it just made them believe that he did all the other fucked up bullshit to me too, because they were like, if you do that, like, that's not allowed. But that's the thing about him, and that's the thing about narcissists, is they always think they're above the law. They think they're never going to get caught. For the longest time, he would drive around with an unregistered car. He would do shit like that all the time. Then he got in an accident in an unregistered car. Like, and he calls me, like, crying. He was always crying, too. That's the thing about narcissists. It's like they don't really have real emotion, I guess, because I'm learning a lot about it. They mimic emotion that they think will play on your emotion so that they can get what they want from you. So, like, he'd call me crying and be like, oh, like, I'm stuck here at this place because I just got in an accident, because I just got, like, caught, because I rear-ended somebody while, like, he was probably high on heroin or drunk as hell, because he was always fucking drunk. And he's like, I'm stuck here and I'm in trouble. And I'm like, I don't feel bad for you. Why would I feel bad for you? So anyway, so I tell the cop all about this, and this cop is like, he's a seasoned cop, and he's like middle-aged seasoned cop, and I'm gonna stop saying it like that. He's a middle-aged seasoned police officer, and you know, he's got like the cool police officer haircut, and like he was with me. Like, I was like leaning forward and talking. He was like yeah, like he felt me. He knew everything was on point. He knew, and he kept saying, "Oh, we got a code 69. Oh, we got a code." I think that was the number. He was like, "Oh, this is a code 69." Like, there was like no doubt in his mind, whatever that meant. I don't know what that meant, but it meant something to him, and like the people around him, they're like, "Yep." And there was a lot of younger people around him, and one of the kids that was like newly a police officer was my ex-boyfriend's friend from high school. So when I said his name, I was like, he's skateboarding away somewhere. And when I said his name, they were like, he was like, oh, dude, I went to high school with him. I know what he looks like. He'll be easy to find. So, like, thanks, universe. But anyway, so they're like looking for this loser on foot on skateboard with like this backpack, and obviously I didn't tell them that. Like, I actually didn't know at the time that he stole my weed, but I was not even concerned with that, obviously. I was just concerned with, like, thankful for being alive, because, like, what the fuck. So anyway, they find him quickly, and as I'm, like, telling the story to this young kid police officer, he's, like, trying to listen to his thing at the same time he's trying to listen to me, and you could tell that this is not, that he was new, I guess. And then he looks at me after they find him, and he's like, just so you know, I'd like to inform you that he is going to go to jail for the night, and that's because this kind of behavior is not appropriate, and it is not appropriate for him to act the way he did, or grab you the way he did, or, you know, stop the 911 call the way he did. And I'm thinking in my head, well, thank fucking God, no shit! Like, of course, like, was there ever a doubt that he wouldn't go to jail? Like, that it was appropriate to grab me like that? That it was appropriate to answer to take the phone from me? But, like, to throw my cat? But I guess maybe there are some people that don't know that that's not okay to be treated that way. I don't know. It was a rough town. Anyway, so yeah. So I ended up getting, like, a restraining order and everything. The state put a protective order on us, like, by themselves, because, like, they were just like, nah, it's not safe for y'all to be around each other. And that was honestly a huge weight and relief off of my shoulders, because when you're in an abusive relationship, you don't want to be there. You are not enjoying yourself. You're not having a good time. You know it's not love, but you're so mind-controlled and, like, discombobulated and screwed up and just lacking love and isolated, and it's like being lost in the desert with somebody who's, like, doesn't actually care if you live or die. They just would like to take you with them as an object. And it's like, and maybe that's not a good representation, but it was a huge relief when we got that protective order, because I felt like I was addicted to the relationship, and even though every part of my being didn't want it. So we went through a lot of, like, back and forth of, like, breaking it and everything, but yeah, I ended up getting a restraining order on him. That was easy. The judge, I told the story, and the judge, and, like, the police there was a woman there, and she was just, like, looking at him like disgusted. And the other police, like, the men were looking at him like, what's wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you? How'd you do that? And, like, there were many, many instances of red flags before this big blow up, and there was other ones after, too, like, so, yeah. And when I told the judge, he was like, okay, like, that's pretty much exactly what you wrote, because you have to type it up, and that was a long-ass thing to type, I'm sure you can imagine, especially when you're wanting to portray it and how fearful you are during the situation, and you want somebody to really understand why you want protection, why you want people to know. Like, it's hard because when people would tell me that they thought he was going to kill me and shit, it's like, I still would have a hard time staying away for a lot of reasons, but it's like you want that documentation, you know, just in case. But anyway, so, because the statistic is 80% of people who put their hands on their 80% of abusers who put their hands on their significant other end up killing their significant other, either in that instance or an instance afterwards, because that's just the statistic, and that's terrifying. But anyway, so the judge looks at him and he's like, do you believe, or is that what you remember to be true to, is that what you believe to be true to have happened, or something like that in his, fancy speech. And my ex literally looks up at him and he's like, well, no, not really, but okay. But has got nothing. No, see, no, his side doesn't exist because my side was the truth. So, he's like, no. Good comeback. Good comeback, dickhead. You're gonna say, no, that's a lie, but got nothing to back it up? What? Spoken like a true narcissist. No, that's wrong, but I don't gotta explain myself. No. What the fuck? Everyone just, I looked at him and I was like, I just wanted to throw up. And then, I looked at everyone else looking at him, and everyone was just like, what the fuck? And mind you, he got in trouble for many things. He got, I don't even know why I'm smiling, because it's disgusting. I don't even know why I dated someone like this. Oh, God. He got in trouble for arson. He got in trouble for stealing. He was an addict. Oh, God. Yeah, so I also wanted to talk about this because I really felt like, if you know about, I believe he was a Roman emperor, Nero. Nero was extreme. He's considered a demon now. If you know about, I'm about to get into spiritual talk, guys. So, if you know about spirituality and different things now, you might know that Nero is, a demon. And I'm making sure I'm not catching my hair on fire. So anyway, in the exorcism of, I believe it's Annalise something, and that's who the exorcism of Emily Rose is based off of. She has 6 different demons inside of her, and Nero is one of them. And you can hear the tapes of her having these exorcisms and speaking out in the demon voices, and Nero is one that comes out. Now Nero was an extremely ruthless emperor and leader, and he's the one that played his instrument while Rome burned. He was also a woman beater and beat his wife to death, and I think it was his pregnant wife. He beat his pregnant wife to death or something like that. So, extremely abusive, musician, and watched Rome burn. Alright? Now, I also wanted to talk about XXX Tentacion, and how he was, he went to jail because of everything he did to his ex-girlfriend. Now, he held her hostage in their house for took away her phone, held her hostage in their house for a couple days, and then she finally got free by getting her phone and calling 911 or something like that. I don't remember the exact story, but he also used to beat her and do a lot of the same abusive shit. Also a musician. Now, I have a friend who put me onto the idea, I really love this idea, he put me onto the idea that many people experience things in the same massive energy, and that makes a lot of sense. So that's what I was thinking about at first, but now I almost feel like X, and he's passed at this point, R.I.P., so I almost feel like that, when I read about that situation, it was too familiar, okay? And also, there's a guy, I don't even know if I should talk about it. So there's also, I'm not going to use names because they kind of scare me, but there's people who are alive still now, and basically, I don't know, I guess I'll just drop the name. So, oh yes, I think that's who it is. So that Poppy, there's all these conspiracies about her. Look that up, that's really interesting. But anyway, so that Poppy, her boyfriend, I forget his name, it's it's Titanic Sinclair. Dude, I'm getting messages. So it's Titanic Sinclair. And Mars Fargo, I believe the girl's name was the girl who he used to date before that Poppy. Mars Fargo had a certain look, had a certain way about her, whatever, and he's basically made he's like the creative person for that Poppy. He's basically turned her into Mars Fargo, which to me seems very abusive and controlling, like to turn your current girlfriend and like creative partner into your ex-girlfriend and ex-creative partner. But there are so many legal accounts of this dude, like musician dude, coming in, breaking into this girl's house. Dude, my ex used to fucking come to my house all the time, uninvited, unannounced, fucked up as hell, like crazy eyes, like I was saying. This guy shows up, she's scared for her life, he's banging on the door, she's calling the police are not that receptive, he comes in, he's breaking shit, he's throwing shit. That sounds familiar to me. Like, it to me sounds like all these people are possessed by the same fucking demon, Nero. And like, I'm gonna have to find it. I've been thinking about it for days, but I've got this journal where I was literally writing one time. I used to think that I had like dissociative identity disorder, so I was just doing all this therapy trying to, they call it naming the demons, conveniently. But that's what, anyway, so I was just trying to figure out my diagnosis. I was trying to figure out what was wrong with me. So I used to just journal all the time and journaling all these different handwritings. Now I realize I was channeling. Like, I was channeling a ton of shit. Well, one time, and the reason I realized I was channeling was because one time I'm literally writing, like, I'm writing all this shitty, fucked up stuff about how I want to hurt myself and shit, and like, and I really used to, like, when I would physically hurt myself, I would really feel like I was being possessed. So I was writing, like, all this shit, and I said out loud, I said, "Who are you? Name yourself." And I wrote in big capital letters, Nero. And to me, that meant nothing at the time because I was so far from my spiritual practice. And I thought black. Black. Why black? Black because, like, it's the black part of my soul or whatever. Nah, dude! That was a demon! Like, ex-boyfriend fucking possessed by that demon. His father... Sorry, I got a hair in my mouth. His father used to beat the shit out of his mom. One of his first memory, not his first abusive memory, his first memory is, like, of his mom getting her ass beat. And I'm not going to get into it because that's not my business, but it was very graphic, very fucked up when he was very young. So, like, this is the cycle. This is the familial curse. You're cursed to cycle through that. Because you're being, and, like, his father... one of the worst human beings I've ever met on the planet, like, made my skin crawl. Ugh. Yeah, possessed if I've ever met anyone that's possessed. Like, if I had to choose only one person in my life that I've ever met that was possessed, be it him or this one other guy I met when I was in the hospital that was literally, like, saying, like, the most satanic shit. Anyway, it probably sounds like I'm wicked into, like, pointing out the Satanism, but it's not. Like, I just have been learning about all different religions for a couple years now, like, on my recovery journey, and it's just finally clicking how satanic most things are. And it's a way for me to describe and explain them. But anyway, so, like, Nero burned down a city. My ex burned down a shed and a whole backyard. I mean, I know it's not a city, thank God, right? Nero was literally playing this musical instrument while it was burning. My ex used to think he was good at guitar. Nero was literally a wife beater to the point of death. That's familiar. Okay, and then those other people that I just listed, X and Titanic Sinclair. It's too familiar. The energy is all the same. And it makes me wonder. Just makes me wonder. I don't know. It's the best way that I can describe my experience. And it's the best way that my mind can wrap my head around it all. And it makes the most sense to me. So yeah, I do want to talk about other things like that. And, yeah. I hope you enjoyed this. And like if you liked it. Subscribe if you feel like it. I hope to see you another time. Bye!